kupitia kwa sheria ukaseme kwa nini ulimuua mtoto wangu? Alikukosea nini ambayo inagharimu kifo chake?
And just like that, Baba Albert Ojang becomes yet another parent who will have to bury his child because someone somewhere in power lost his cool and threw somewhat childlike tantrums that had not childlike effects, and a young person was lost with no dignity. So as we continue to pray against the evil, which is apparently social media, Baba Albert Ojang is praying for justice. So is Mama Rex, who the police have just said no bullet was launched by them on June 25th. Again, kujitoa kwa ngori and painting everyone else as a madman. The wound is once again open. They abducted creatives for posting cartoons online. Now, they have killed Ojwang for a social media post. Kenyans are angry. Kenyans are very much back on the streets. And tonight we ask, has freedom of speech become a crime, punishable through death? Freedom ya kubonga imekuwa crime. Please, indulge us on our WhatsApp number and we shall be reading your feedback in a minute. Meanwhile, I'm of course joined in studio by my lovely co-hosts Linda and Kagina. Hi guys.
Well, a very good evening to you, Ms. K. And you know, on my way here, I was just wondering, is the internet or the digital space a safe space for young people anymore? It's a big question that we'll have to ask the Gen Zs whether they feel safe in this space.
Right. Thank you, Linda. Now I'm hapa kwa studio. There are people here who do TikToks who are tweeps. They call them tweeps. Who will tell us, do they feel safe as they are publishing their content? Kagina.
Well, all right. For me, I'm left with the question of why we have the three arms of the government, one included being the judiciary. Because how comes the complainant is the investigating officer, is the executing officer as well? And when we call for IPOA to dive into the investigations, the best they can do is issue a joint press conference with all interested parties, including the accused.
Yeah.
How then will we trust them to deliver justice as is being asked for? However, right now we are counting 3 days, or rather 2, since the case of Albert. We saw Kasipul serious action as to the perpetrators and who executed the murder within a very short period. Days are counting. Hopefully we will get names, and not just names, faces, and not just faces mentioned, but people put to deck to answer for their actions.
And Kagere, when you speak about a statement, we recall the statement the police service issued that alijigonga kwa wall. But then now we are hearing that the autopsy says that hakuna kitu kama hiyo. That his injuries don't haziendanishi na self-harm. This person was harmed externally. And the external people who are around him are police officers, according to the dad. Those are the last people who are with him. So really, mchezo ya tauni kweli ama what is happening? Linda, what do you think about that?
And you know, you wonder, Kwani, how bad was the tweet that had to cost his life? And how far can you go? How far can you make a statement and know that this can be fatal? You know, you'll only be scared even to post anything on your social media platform because of the recent happenings. You wonder, whoa, if I post this, what if it costs my life? And that curtails the freedom of speech. How far can you go when it comes to freedom of speech? What does the regulations even talk about when it comes to freedom of speech? And also, the regulations around it. Unaweza bonga mbaya to what level? To what level can the government punish you to a place where they take your life? You know, like it's quite detrimental.
And I like what you've said. And again, tonight we are asking if freedom of speech ya kubonga imekuwa crime, because this is, you can date it back kitambo to the cartoons. People were actually arrested or abducted for making cartoons. I mean, how sensitive are these politicians really? Ni kama tulieka watu too emotional kwa
Yeah.
hii game ya politics.
And you know, where is the respect for humanity, you know?
Yeah. And the
Because-
fact that the president has not yet spoken about this is also a bit alarming, Kagina.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it will come to a point, hopefully it doesn't get to this point, but the script initially has ended up with the communications team taking the blame for issuing a statement first saying that he hit his head against the wall, later mentioning those who were interdicted only
Oh,
for
wow.
the post-mortem to communicate otherwise. Is this a communication failure? Well, indeed, this conversation tonight sets course for that, and we are hoping to unravel that by expressing, you know, while studying, my lecturer, Mr. Maoga, would say, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. So where does the nose begin in this case?
Right. Again, question of the day is freedom ya kubonga imekuwa crime. Na umeongelea about communications being amiss. If communications team ya police service inaweza kuwa na kasoro, really, what else inside the system iko na kasoro? I mean, this is a system that should be working for the people. Social studies, tulikuwa tunaambiwa the police are here to maintain law and order. That's what we know. But the police themselves seem to be disrupting this order. So who do we turn to? Linda.
Another question that I've been asking myself is the fear instilled in Kenya. You know, even around this time, it's coming at a time when it's barely 2 days before budget reading, 2025-2026, this Thursday. And remember, that goes in line also with the Finance Bill 2025. And remember, around this time last year, things were different. So I don't know whether it's a tactic to gag the youth who were speaking out about issues, because one of the prominent things that really came out when they were talking about the death of Ojang was specifically about corruption. Yeah, so have we gagged not to speak about corruption? It's a big question.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
And as we still speak about that, one of the officials said that, you know, we should be careful about what we are putting online, because now employees are looking at your, you know, online stuff to see if you're fit to be an employee. I don't know if this makes sense to the young people themselves. Ama pia hiyo ni mchezo wa taoni.
Well, allow me, Ms. K, to just engage my panelists right here with me. Tell me, you have seen the recent happenings. What comes to your mind, especially when you are a young person in this country?
First of all, what comes to my mind is fear, because it's no longer just a matter of my expression or my liberty to be who I am when I stand. It's not a matter of I need to regulate even how I'm supposed to live, just in order to align with what the government says. And it's very, very sad because as a journalist speaking also, I see this as a contradiction to what our constitution stands for, to what the UN Human Rights Charter stands for, to what even human dignity basically stands for. I mean, the insult to intelligence, you say this is an insult to human dignity, the insult to intelligence that the Kenyan police can take its citizens through to lie to us and think that we will buy that argument, and worst of all, come back again with another narrative in the name of trying to construct a theory that everything is working. These are the same people who we warned last year and told them that you are hurting us when you're going to these protests. And we cried to the government and said, the police are becoming way too radical in how they are holding us and maintaining us. Nobody heard us. We come into this year, we hear various leaders telling us that social media is becoming too much radical. We cannot maintain the youths. But yet the youths are only speaking what needs to be said, what needs to be heard. And now finally, we see just because of the youth speaking out in these social media spaces, the same police who we've been crying about coming and taking down these social media youths. I mean, what are we looking at? What dark future are we painting for our people out there, our students, our kids, our parents, our brothers, our sisters? And it doesn't even help that some political leaders have the nerve to come in and tell us that wait for the police to conclude investigations, that the police are respectable enough, we should respect them. After such a debacle, I mean, the father is crying. A man's tears are being shed at June Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, all because of this. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm sickened to the core.
Thank you so much. Perhaps I can get your sentiment as well. Has these recent happenings instilled fear in you?
First of all, my name is Ian. I'm a youth leader. And let me start by condemning the happenings that are going on in our country. First of all, let us look about the story of the Ojwang. History of Ojwang, tunapaswa tujiulize how bad was the statement. Unajua, like, how many, like, you personally, ulikuwa unajua Ojwang before hii mambo happen. So you see the problem is the government that are escalating the things. Unaona, like, wanaleta mambo, like, if, like, the constitution grants me the freedom to express myself, and I can criticize the government. But kufika to an extent ya kuwa mtu ama kufanya kitu inakuwa kubwa, then mnakuja kulaumu vijana, that is not, we will not allow that. And the second thing is that we youth will not buy the fear, because the constitution and the human rights charter in United Nations and the human dignity guarantees us the right to express ourselves. Na unajua, hata nikifanya jambo mbaya aji, come talk to me, ama take the appropriate means. Lakini unajua, like, they are the ones who have caused this thing to be a national matter. Like, everybody now, hata Monyagu anajua nini Ojwang alikuwa amepost. Kila mtu sahi anajua kuna mtu anaitwa Ojwang. Ameuawa na serikali, ameuawa na police. You see, they are the ones which are making the matters worse.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You will not be silenced, but talking of freedom of speech, when it comes to you, whenever you're posting on social media, before these happenings, were you aware that there are some regulations surrounding the digital space?
Yeah, sure. My good name is Kevin. I'm Kevin Motedi, a student in Linda, and also I'm a youth leader. Yeah, I'm aware about this because the Constitution of Kenya, I'm talking about Article 33. This is clause 1, guarantees me the freedom of the speech, the way I should express myself. But also the same Constitution, Article 2, limits the thing that I should post. As much as we are speaking about the freedom of the speech, that we should be protected, we should be aware of this so that the government that we are accusing, or the people that we are accusing, they don't have something to hold on us. You see, the moment now you post something that is against the law, now this is where the government comes in, hold on us, and sometimes we fear that we are not enlightened enough to know what we should post, where we should not post, and who should we post, and what should we post at what time, and in the way we should post it. I feel that that's the main thing, that we should be aware that what is it that we should post.
There is a gap.
There is a gap in the youth, that we are happy about the freedom. We are happy about the expressing ourselves. We are happy that we can post. We are feeling that we are entitled to expressing ourselves. But are we entitled of defamation? You see, the moment now we enter to the defamation world, we face the other side of the law. We have to be in that chamber. It is good to express ourselves. It is good to post. But now I feel that the youth should have that education, or be enlightened a bit. What is it that you should post? Because as I stated, that the Article 33 of the Constitution gives us the right to post. This is clause 1. But now the clause 2 of the same article goes and says that what is it that you are regulated from posting? Violence? Are you insulting? Are you allowed to that? So it is that I'm aware what I should post, and as much as we are not aware what we should post, or we are not aware about the Constitution, because we are not aware about the law, we know that criticizing for the death of somebody is the right. Najua kwamba nikisema umeua mtu ni haki yangu kusema, na napaswa kutetea haki yule mtu. Najua kwamba when I say that the government is not doing this, it is within my right as the voter, and somebody owns the idea of the Kenya. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Perhaps you can pass the mic to the person seated next to you. Do you find this as an eye-opener, the recent happenings with the Juang and the Rex issue? Tell me about that. Is it an eye-opener?
Thank you very much. My name is Ochola Joseph, law student, University of Nairobi. At first, we are actually in a constitutional breach era where the government is taking constitution just as a write-up, but not something that should be put into action. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 33, provides everybody with the right and freedom of speech, whereby you are able to speak your mind as the occurrences go on, be it politically, economically, or in our social setup. The same way, even the international community really embraced this article. That when you look at the UN special rapporteur, where we talk of, they said that shutting down social media should actually be as according to any issue of legality or necessity or either any proportionality that might be there. But the issue of trying to silence social media because of criticism that people are directing to the government isn't right, because we are like spectators in this kind of political arena. When we see something, we are supposed to say it. And digital arena is where, or digital platform is where we can actually air our own sentiments on how we are feeling the government is working, and where there are still loopholes, or where we still have some gaps. But silencing us through the social media is not the right way.
And how about regulations around this particular issue? Because you're a law student and you understand this much, just like one of the panelists. Tell us about that, especially on the gaps involved in the country.
On the gaps involved with the country, actually, going back to Article 33 of the Constitution, we are required to speak our mind. Yeah, we know there are limitations. However, during these political times where we have so many political problems we are facing in the country, abductions, extrajudicial killings, I think people have bought fear. The same time during last year, the same time like this, we could see there were a lot of issues. There were unrest in the ground. People have now bought fear. People cannot go to the streets. People cannot talk about what their rights are, where their rights are being hindered. But now, social media now provides us with a safer and a better place whereby we can air our point, even anonymously.
Is it safe, even as we are speaking now? Do you find it as a
As we are
safe
speaking
space?
now, it is not safe, because whatever you're posting on social media, you are trying to find yourself, there is something that is hindering you from expressing your mind, because Subaru will come, or either you'll find yourself, they will put you to cells, and then they will tell your family that you hugged a transformer at night and you died, which is not right. Therefore, we are calling upon the government led by William Samoei Ruto. We elected you because you told us that we will actually take care of our rights. You were sworn into the office, and you said that day that you will actually protect our rights and you will uphold the rule of law. But whatever we are seeing now is that Nikamo Meturuka, you have become Judas. And the people who are shouting outside there to you guys, I'm telling you that whenever you're talking of Kumi Bila break, think of the father of Ojwang, what he's feeling. The mother's outside there. Can you try to think of whatever is happening at the heart of Mama Ojwang? Therefore, as we shout Kumi Bila break, let us also shout for justice.
Thank you so much. Well articulated right there. Well, you just joined us, and we were talking about the recent happenings, especially with Ojwang, what happened to Ojwang in quest to speaking about freedom of speech, the way he expressed himself, and it cost his life. When you get to hear this, do you find internet a safe space anymore?
My name is Billy Sabari, and I'll go straight to the question you've just asked. Ojwang's case is just a way of showing us how much of a tyrant our president is, and how much this government gives zero sense and zero tribute to people who just want to express themselves. When I saw Ojwang's case, I'll accept, hata mimi nilishtuka kwanza, because it's not that the guy just wrote the post himself. Actually, it had already been gazetted on a very public newspaper. He was only giving his sentiments, just saying what he thought about what had already been published. So Ojwang did not even come up with the information that he was disseminating in the internet. It was already out there, open source. People could just access it. Now, Ojwang just being murdered brutally, it shows how much our freedom is now being infringed at a very high speed. And if we do not also work in God's speed to now return our sovereignty as the people and bring back our freedom that we really fought for, by the way. Kenyans were not just granted freedom. People came out, the Mau Mau, the Kenya Land and Freedom Association, nicknamed Mau Mau afterwards. But the same people who are now trying to silence us from just giving active information on the internet. So Ojwang's case, yes, imenishtua, but it will not beat us down or make us not give information to the people who are really in need of it, because the public must know. It's always been a war on misinformation, and the government cannot hold a monopoly of violence and at the same time hold a monopoly of information. We are being fought from each and every corner. And the funniest thing about this is that it's not that Ojwang went to someone's house and threatened to express them, or Ojwang had a brutal weapon. Ojwang was picked from his home, from his own home. He was actually still having his meal. The people who picked him, our National Police Service. So who then do we run to? If our police officers or if our executive arm of the government is now fighting us? And until when will this happen?
You talked about freedom of speech. What then should be done to ensure that you're safe in this space?
Our safety cannot be guaranteed by the police, and our safety cannot be guaranteed by the politicians. Our safety can only be guaranteed by us, the people. It is time for people to now unite. It is time for people to unite, and these grassroots movements that are against this tyrant government are the only type of way to fight this tyrant government, because it is doing these things deliberately. This was a planned attack on Albert. And I'm here speaking as a journalism student, as an actor, as a model, but I'm also just a mere Kenyan in the end. And even by being here and just expressing my views on what is happening, I know that I'm also putting my life in danger. And that is the funniest thing about all this, that people are now being massacred, people are now being killed just for speaking out their minds, and they're not even lying, they're giving out information that is out in the public. So kitu yenye government inafanya ni kwamba haitaki watu wafikiwe na information, because the biggest enemy of a tyrant government or of an unjust system is people who are informed. Knowledge is actually the biggest weapon we have against these people. Knowledge.
Wow. Thank you. Fight against misinformation. But when you talk about misinformation, are you aware of the regulations around it, even when you're maneuvering through the social media platform? Because I know that's where Gen Z actually do their businesses.
Yes, I am aware of misinformation, but I think the gap that is missing, to answer your question, is the interpretation of this constitution regarding expression, freedom of expression and freedom of opinion. That is where the problem is. And it's very, very sad that the people who implement and want this constitution to run, the stakeholders, the major stakeholders of this constitution, the government itself, don't understand the scope of media, the scope of information that has risen. This is a new media. If they can't understand it, then it's very hard for them to regulate it. And that's why they have a very big problem with interpreting it and making it much more conducive for everybody. Because if they did understand that, one, whether or not Ojwang's post was true or not.
It's okay. We'll continue with that conversation. We will continue with that conversation. But before then, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Kameme TV.
Thirikari ya Murang'a County itogoretio ni Governor Irungu Kang'ata ni marakurehera kigomano kinene kia biashara nikio Murang'a Investment Conference. Kigomano giki gikahanika kuria Thika Greens Golf Resort tariki 13 na tariki 14 mweri wa June. Kiria kirakuhe mweke wa gucemania na ku network na investors age na kuyonera mieke ere kuwa ya wonjoria thini wa Murang'a County. Mieke ta County Industrial and Aggregation Park kuria Kafati, SMEs Park, Export Processing Zone kuria wena mweke wa agro processing na mage maige. Kuyandikithia ta delegate hihinya *267*21# orege hihinya *267*21#. Namarehi no shirigi ngiri 12. Murang'a Investment Conference 2025, unlocking Murang'a as an industrial hub.
Mafanikio hayaji kwa bahati, ni matokeo ya bidii, uvumilivu, kujifunza, kusoma, kujituma na zaidi ya yote kukipenda unachokifanya.
Kupata mafanikio kama skiza tune yako, dial *811 *614#.
Asilwela ukunqoba kuphela. Kepha silwela ukwakha isizwe esinohlonze. Sekunjalo.
Hihi wina kĩũria kana woni wĩgiĩ ũmemerekia wa Kameme TV? Twandĩkĩre woni waku kũhĩtũkĩra Facebook @Kameme TV Kenya, X @Kameme TV Kenya, na twandĩkĩre email kũhĩtũkĩra info@mediamax.co.ke. Kameme TV, mũthĩgi wa rũrĩrĩ.
Nyambata nyeno ngombata Oiga jikoro keno ngodie Nekere ungo kararie Mahoya male matiambelelia Nigebarele angogo daira Kai wako aukanjigua Demogore Nada kamea Jesu Ukabadi
Welcome back. This is the Gen Z Manifesto. Hapa kama kawaida, form ni kuongea itutoke. This is a space for young people to speak about national matters that affect them. And currently, we are dealing with a national matter that has affected not only the young people of Kenya, but really every Kenyan. We are talking about Albert Ojang. Na swali ya leo ni, freedom ya kubonga imekuwa crime. Has freedom of speech become a crime? Now let's see some feedback from you guys watching us at home. Again, that is a question, freedom ya kubonga imekuwa crime. Jungle Raw anasema, you can't be roaming everywhere, tarnishing other people's names, and you hide behind the freedom of speech. Okay, Jungle Raw. Deno Gift Chalo anasema, they cannot silence us because we don't fear them. Right, thank you Dennis for your feedback. Nimrod anasema, understand you are granted freedom of speech, but it has limits, which is there is no freedom after hate speech. Thank you for that. We have a lawyer here who will clarify for us that statement. I think, okay, Octavius. Anasema, evening, I'm Octavius from Kirinyaga, Kerugoya. It's so sad in that the government is denying people the right for expression. The death of that guy shows how brutal the government is and giving out petty, lame excuses over his death. This is not right. Justice to that guy. And that guy is Albert Ojang. We will remember his name. Is that... Okay, Bruno Cherargay anasema Cherangan. Okay, tuko live. This government, nilidhani ni watu wa kanisa. Lakini kumbe hivi ndo wao hufanya mayouths. Blood can never fed. Something? Okay, Bruno. Clearly, ni kama watu wa kanisa, they have some answers to give. Kim anasema, all deaths that have occurred in police cells in the territory of Kenya are suspect and all should be revisited period. Thank you, Kim, for your feedback. Continue engaging us on our WhatsApp number. We shall be hearing your feedback later as the show goes on. For now, I want to throw it to Kagina. I got a special guest for us. One is a fellow journalist, actually. Another is a data protection officer. Kagina.
Well, indeed. And in the order you've identified them or introduced them, let me start with Beatrice Waithera, who is the journalist like us. We also have Shanice Naisenya, a data protection officer, and also a legal tech, and advising legal on matters tech. Accurate?
Yes.
Very nice. And now starting from where we are asking our viewers, from Shanice, freedom ya kubonga imekuwa na limits ama watu wamekuja sana?
Well, hey, this is a heavy one because I'm very happy to hear, first of all, that our youth are very conversant with the articles of the Constitution. You can hear them citing the actual articles. That is very impressive. You imagine pushing people to a point where they actually learn the articles of the Constitution. Something new every day. But when it comes to freedom of expression, so there are two rights, sadly, the ones that are associated with social media platform, which is freedom of expression and right to privacy. Those two are not absolute. But that doesn't mean that you can just cut them off at any point and decide, okay, this is where the freedom ends. Article 24 lists out things that you should consider before deciding that this right is no longer, it has reached its limit. And especially when we come to freedom of expression, when we are referring to freedom of expression that you have under the Constitution, it is to seek, receive, and impart information, which is what we do on social media, at least the people who use it for the right reasons. They educate, they impart wisdom. You have the academic freedom and freedom of scientific research, the freedom to express yourself, but not in terms of propaganda of war, inciting violence, or hate speech. So the question then comes in, whatever was published, does it amount to hate speech? I have heard a person mention on the panel that he was basically reiterating what had already been published. So does that really amount to hate speech? Right.
Interesting insights right there. No, washwa.
Well,
is the freedom of speech being curtailed to some extent from where you sit?
well, I consider online spaces as online barazas. Imagine an offline baraza where you're going to your chief's place to talk, and you're pressed, you're angry, you want to talk, and words could come out of you because, you know, the kind of pain that governments or systems instill in people, sometimes people have to come out organically and be themselves. So responding to anything that the media as a first persona probably, or something, research, an investigative piece has been published out there and you're reacting to it, I do not understand how that becomes hate speech, and especially because everyone has an opinion. So is the freedom of speech been curtailed? It has been curtailed in Kenya, and especially because the youth of Kenya have been criminalized and now expressing themselves now in today's barazas, which are online barazas, social media platforms. It has become a place where now you have to be really cautious and, you know, like check the person following me, the person I'm talking to, is that a police person? Is that a person who's undercover? Is that a person investigating what I'm saying? So it's not safe, but at the same time, in terms of freedoms, I think Kenya has moved from good to worse. The repression of the state of freedoms, not just the freedom of expression. And when they come for the Bill of Rights, we know very well they have taken every other freedom. So I think we are on the last straw, where they come for freedom of expression, and then we have nothing else to defend ourselves but the Constitution to defend us. So you must defend the Constitution as well.
In the recent past, we've had a quote of politicians calling for the regulation of social media in the guise that it is being misused. If you were to compare the extent as to which it is being misused at the moment, has it gotten to a point where we actually need to strictly regulate it?
You know, politicians exist to make things work for them, laws work for them. I mean, they say the law does not work to protect the people, but the law, exists to serve the people. So they can manipulate the law the way they want, for as long as it serves them. So politicians will always have verbatim, they'll always say what they want, for as long as it helps them. But by the end of the day,
I'll take you back to what I do. I do digital security and safety training. As a person in media and tech, I do that. And one of the things I start by saying is that internet governance, and in this particular case, this particular one you have here, and what politicians are calling on upon the president to do, internet governance is not about curtailing the freedom of speech or the freedom of assembly online or the freedom of, people being able to participate in all forms of governance. So when you want to take away the freedom of our people, what do? You take all the instruments that serve them, or all these instruments that they use to express themselves. So politicians know very well that unless the word is coming from them, or unless they are tweaking some of the laws even in parliament, like the key car amendment law, or tweaking some other laws, for instance, the kind they could use to slap, there's something called slap, using laws to hit on people, using those laws, for instance, media people, media personalities, using such kind of laws to also curtail the freedom of some also media houses, using such kind of laws to also switch off the internet, like we saw in Tanzania the other day. You saw what President Samia Suluhu did, and a couple of these platforms were not on, like X was not functional for a time. When during the Gen Z protests, at the height of Gen Z protests, when the Kenyan government interfered with an undersea cable, there are so many things they can do, and they use the systemic kind of upper hand they have to instill systemic injustices, which I think in this case, it's not for the people, it's against the people, and it's to serve their own selfish demands. And at that point, I think it's counterproductive because it doesn't serve the place for governance and seeking accountability. So they are curtailing our freedoms in a way that if you do not have anyone telling you the wrong you're doing, then you're not different from King Saul. I mean, they love to quote the Bible. Let me give that biblical allusion.
All right. And something unique, you will agree with me, is that the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas who've come after are people who are fond of expressing themselves in the manner in which they please. In fact, here on Gen Z Manifesto, tunasema, tunaongea itutoke. So Shanice, in line of kuongea itutoke, other than the two aspects that you've mentioned where, three aspects, that is propaganda for war, incitement, as well as hate speech. Other than the three, do the rest have offense? Ama tuendele kuongea tutoke?
I think we need to take note of the fact that a key highlight when it comes to your rights is they end where another person's rights begin. Just because you get to enjoy your rights doesn't mean you infringe on other people's rights. Okay? So now the vagueness of social media, how do you judge when you have overstepped on social media? It's not like, unless they have actual harm is faced, they lose something of monetary value, or they actually feel some form of hurt to them. I would say that would be the limit, because how do you express your opinions? How does that become you've infringed someone else's laws? Do you see how it's a very vague? And to quote what someone said on the panel, I don't remember the name, they need to better understand this space to better regulate it. I mean, it is an ever-changing animal, the internet, the digital space. Something new is happening every day. We have AI coming up. We have all of these deep fakes. Myself, I've had my identity being used by other people popping up on random platforms. I would say my rights have been infringed, right? So does that mean that whoever that person is, their rights have to cease? Do you understand? Like, the gravity of the situation has to be looked at. So I have also been offended. Where is my... I want to see
right as well.
You know?
So if you are a fan of this show or have watched Gen Z Manifesto before, there's a segment where we go qua ground and we have Majibu right there speaking to a number of Gen Zs in different parts of this country and this city as well. So today, it so happens that Majibu tried to do that and it was not possible, but we have him in studio. So I think that conversation will continue right here. He will explain his ordeal and why hatusikii kutoka kwa ground siku ya leo. Linda and Miss K, back to you.
Majibu, unajua venye Miss K anakuitanga Majibs kwa ground kulienda aje leo?
Kwa mbaya, ground yangu ndio hii sasa. Mnionee hapa. Sijatolewa hivyo. Tulikuwa ground, nilifanya link ya 7 PM kwa news. Hiyo ya activists walikuwa wameenda ku protest. Kwanza walikuwa hapo vigilance and then wakatoka. By the time nilikuwa nafika vigilance hakukuwa na wasee. Kulikuwa na lori kaa 2 za makarao barricade ni hapo. So waliamua kusonga hapo mbele hapo kwa Jogoo House. So walikuwa mwasha candles, I think ilikuwa in relation to story ya comrade Ojwang. So kwanza mapolisi walikuwa wamefunga gate, wamekuwa barricade. Kulikuwa na polisi on the other side of the gate ya Jogoo House, and then kulikuwa na wengine sasa hiyo side nyingine. Kitu walikuwa nayo asili ilikuwa tu ni simu zao. Kulikuwa na Shakira Wafula alikuwa hata live. Sijui ilikuwa ni TikTok kama ni nini. Ni simu tu ameshikilia. Kulikuwa na wengine hapo wanawasha candles wanaimba, but kitu imenishtua after hiyo link ya kwanza ya 7 nao nikijipanga saa kuenda ile ground ya ukweli saa ya Gen Z, wametolewa mbio, hata mimi nimetolewa mbio. Na kitu mbaya zaidi naweza sema ni ile yenye imehappen kabisa, yenye sikuwa na expect labda ita happen. Hawa si walikuwa plain wamebeba tu hizo manyahunyo manini, unakuja unapiga unafukuza msee mwenye hana hata silaha. Wewe ndio uko na silaha, kwanza una uniform ya itambulisho ni nani. Hiyo ilikuwa okay, nilikuwa hapo. Sija manage kwenda ground live kama kawaida kila Tuesday. Nimekuja hapa juu pia mimi nimetolewa mbio. Hata hiyo ground yenye nilikuwa haikuangi far away from Jogoo House. But hiyo ground yangu ya ukweli sasa pia hata experience singefanyia hapo. Juu nimeenda ku set up kidogo napigwa simu, director ananiambia wewe uko hewani, mimi siwezi. Mbio wamekuja wakatutoa mbio sana hapo. Ndio maana leo sijakuwa ground.
And did they hurt you physically?
Mimi niko fiti, but kamera tulikuwa nayo imevunjika. Kuna handle fulani imevunjika hapo juu. Juu yao kutolewa mbio. So nikivuta cable hiyo microphone
Now Linda, what comes to mind? Who is paying for those damage?
Hadi kuna simu ya comrade hapa bana, tulikuwa naye hapo, atakujia tu.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
She was also present, Ms. K. She can tell us
yes.
about that, and you're brave.
Yeah, actually it's good that simu imepatikana, because comrade was like, I lost my phone in the middle of the fracas. I think ni unfortunate sana that tunafika mahali makarao wanatuitia maguns watu disperse, na tunasema tutoki hapa juu tunadai justice ya Albert Ojwang. Kwa ground wase wamejam, seriously, wase wame lose their fear, absolutely. Na I think mimi nataka kuambia Wakenya, to make this the last time tunasema stop police brutality in this country. Tumesema so many times. Personally, document a lot of cases police brutality hapo Mathare Social Justice Center na Justice Movement. Kumbukeni kutoka time ya Baby Pendo, Yasin Moyo, Kianjokoma Brothers, Gen Z last year 60, Kware Women. Sai tuko justice for Albert Ojang. Until when, guys? Until when are we still going to tolerate this inhumane treatment in our own country? Tuko home. Tunafaa kuwa safe. Tunafaa feel extremely safe tukiwa nyumbani. Polisi haizi kutoa in the hands of your parents. You die in their hands. Na tusikie stories zingine. This must be the absolute last time we are crying for justice for any of our comrades in this country again. We've had enough. What is kwa ground is tumechoka na mauaji ya kiholela. Tumechoka na impunity ambayo tunaiona. Na I think even more frustrating ni ati last year tulijitokeza kama young people kusema we are not happy with the way things are going in this country. We are not happy with the corruption, we are not happy with killings, we are not happy with kukandamizwa ambako tunakuwa kandamizwa kama Wakenya. 1 year later, I'm wearing this t-shirt. Imeandikwa Justice for Rex Masai kwa sababu we've not forgotten Rex, we've not forgotten Denzel, we've not forgotten Caroline, we've not forgotten any of our comrades ambaye ameuliwa na hii serikali. And that is why people are saying on Thursday, that should be the mother of all protests, as freedom of expression, as Kenyans coming out to say enough is enough. Because unfortunately, this government does not listen unless the people rise up, unless the people come in large numbers, and then unless the mothers come, unless the youth come, unless everybody that has a heart, that is human, comes and says, this has got to come to an end. We are not begging, we are not ombaing, we are saying, tekeleza katiba. The right to life is a constitutional right. there's judiciary, there's all of these institutions. Kwani kazi ya jela ni kufanya nini kama mtu amekosea? What is the role of the judiciary in this country if we cannot get justice through the courts? If our own police institutions cannot, how do you die in the hands of police?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. K, on your end.
Linda, thank you. Wanjira has said something. Amesema, comrades, the fear is gone.
Yes.
But it seems like the fear also ya polisi, it's
Yeah.
gone. The fear ya nitapatikana and the law will be, I'll be punished according to the law. It's also lost. So as a lawyer yourself here, what comes to mind as when we see police officers acting rogue and having no fear for the law being used against them?
Actually, our police officers, they should be examined well. For you to be a police officer, there are criteria that you need to go through or you need to have met for you to be a police officer. But for our Kenyan police officers, I don't know whether they passed through that. Some of them, I don't know whether they're legal police officers or not. Leaving that aside, the issues of defamation or whatever, I think those ones are civil lawsuits. We should not have a police officer trying now to execute and subjecting somebody even to the extent of causing the death of the individual. That is not accepted. Sometimes, even those police officers, let me say, some of them use drugs. They're not good people. The people who are supposed to protect us are now killing us. That is unacceptable. Number two, to the national government led by our very own President William Samoei. Article 259 of the Constitution talks about how we can try to analyze or understand these laws and the application of the laws, whatever. Somebody has sent a message talking about that after you have breached the freedom or Article 33 of the Constitution, there is no now freedom. That's not the case here. There is a system, there is a procedure through which you are supposed to be taken through, and you ensure that justice is fed in both sides, that the person who has been wronged has got his side too, and you too, you have served justice. It doesn't mean that Mr. Ojang was now to be subjected to death. It is not life. Life sentence that somebody should now be killed. And then our IG and the system of police service and whatever, you need to be truthful. We need to trust you because you're the people who have been assigned and you have been bestowed the duty to take care of us. Now, whenever, even if I'm going to, when I'm going to be out of this place, I don't know who's going to protect. It's as if I'm protecting myself because when I see a police officer, I ought to have run away. I need to run away because those people, I don't know what they're holding for me. Even right now, if you go to town, people are not, we and police officers, we are now enemies. Please, the police officers, you guys, you have been charged with you have the duties to ensure that we are safe. Stop killing us. And you please be in your right mind. Police officers, whenever you're using drugs, because as for myself, I'm just thinking most of you are drug addicts. Please.
We cannot verify that.
Yes, we cannot verify that. But according to whatever you people are doing, please try to be in your right mind where you are executing your duties.
Thank you so much for your sentiments. Linda, a lot has been said,
well,
including usage of drugs.
Absolutely. You know, we have been talking about just how the common mwananchi's freedom has been infringed.
Yes.
And Majibu is just a testament of how even freedom of journalists has been infringed in this particular level. Even in Homa Bay, you remember Homa Bay, just the other time they were attacked, laptops, cameras were taken away. Well, I wonder from the other side, Kagina, from your guest, I want them to speak about that as well. If even journalists are attacked, and you remember, even in war, journalists are not attacked. So when it comes to this, where are we as a country, and what are the regulations around it?
You know, when you talk of statistics, you talk of Homa Bay and statistics, you're talking as if people who are far away. I personally was in Homa Bay, and I'm among one of those who were clobbered by the security officers. It was interesting that they called us for a press conference a day before. We were briefed on how to come, where to come, what to carry, and we did exactly that. And we were seriously clobbered. Some of us fell, some of us had sprained feet. My camera person lost his phone, so we had trouble communicating the entire day. And this was a national event. We were invited to go cover, so we were stuck asking ourselves this question. And so when this question of infringement, of rights to expression, then here comes the messengers, as we are referred to, for the state. Then what do you make of it, Beatrice?
Yes.
When, not just the ordinary Mwananchi, even those mandated with the role to inform the public as well are attacked?
Okay, first of all, journalists' lives matter. The media must be respected because that's the for the state. And the media is the representative and the watchdog of the people. What the governments do can only be held accountable by maybe the judiciary. And unfortunately, only key people within governments enjoy things like the service of tenure. Apart from the Media Council of Kenya and apart from the Communications Authority of Kenya, the media itself, the media fraternity itself, has to come out and condemn what has just happened to our journalist here. And why? Because if he was attacked covering something after the death of someone who was killed by the very, very same people or within the confines of state elements that should be protecting him, then even him as a journalist, he could just get shot. I mean, like, what happens? We see on international media, a journalist is there and he's being shot and it's gone and it's done, So one life is too much to lose. I want to imagine, not just imagine, that Mwalimu here, Albert Ojang, was not just a teacher. He was a Kenyan, and being a Kenyan, he was a citizen journalist. I want to call him a citizen journalist because he's using digital media platforms to talk the truth, to smoke out graft and corruption in this country. If his rights were never respected, if he's down right now in the morgue feeling cold, he's not feeling anything, then how about him? When you take the right or inject that camera, want that microphone from us, what are you doing? You're denying the people the very right they should be enjoying, called access to information is a right. I'd like to say this before maybe you can pass it on. Professor Wangari Maathai, the late, said, human rights are not things you sit down and dine on.
Allow me to hold you at that so that we can take this short commercial break and continue with this conversation right here.
This is the comfort of a mom's hug. Nahi ni Molfix Pants Comfort that feels just like a mom's hug. Babies play around and then, oops, Molfix ina absorb like whoop. Imagine, haiwezi leak in 50 different movements. Makofi to both babies and Molfix. Renewed Molfix, ultimate quality.
Matuko maninagwo nĩ gũkĩa na nĩkĩo Farmhold Ventures Limited, kambuni ĩrĩa kũrekaine harĩ wendia na wĩigithia wa ng'ũndũ, ĩtigagĩrĩra nĩ yamũrehera project ngũrani na mwĩhoko mwerũ nĩ gũkorwo kwĩhokwo nĩ ndwano ĩtahĩtagia kĩũngũyũ.
Barabara-inĩ nene ya Thika Garissa Road, o ndagĩka 10 tu kuma taũni nene ya Matu, tũkamũrehera Ikatini Gardens na thogora wa 230,000. Na kuo mwena wa Gĩthiũkũ, o ndagĩka 5 tu kuma Rami-inĩ, tũkamũrehera Evergreen Gardens Phase 2, brodi cia 50/100 na thogora wa 130,000.
Na warĩkia kwĩgwatĩra title deed ĩguoko.
No tũcerere wabici-inĩ itũ, Riruton Doctors Plaza 2nd floor, kana wabici itũ ya Thika, Maisha Heights 3rd floor. Namba itũ ya thimũ nĩyo 0704 000 333.
Crowd goes absolutely emphatic. He has done it.
Get ready for more on SuperSport, the only place to watch all the FIFA Club World Cup.
Hwaĩ-inĩ waku ũkirie kwagĩrĩra ona makĩria, wĩrorere tabarĩra ya Hũmũka o mũthenya wa mwambĩrĩrio nginya wa gatano, thaa 11 nginya thaa 1 cia hwaĩ-inĩ. tukiaraniria na ataramu Ndeto Sharaloko na ndereti mwaki ciigie kugacirithia muturire waku.
When you lose hope uteaga kirigiriro no njohi na nyama na imwe ni turamwira ringi nyama ndune nyingi ti njega.
Ni ule wona mwanake wa kanitha urenda kuhikia muiritu. Have you ever seen that? Erutanagiria muno ku make sure muiritu ucio every time hell weha
ni wago ire na niguo wariro wanyonagia wendo muinge ngaigua ta ingiguruka wanyonagia wendo sweet ngaigua ta ingiguruka
Homoka hatari udutangaja niguo canjamura hwaine wako muthenya ukeinikirira homoka na nonsizi wang'ethe o mwambĩrĩrio nginya wa gatano thaa 11 nginya thaa 1 cia hwaine.
Welcome back. This is Gen Z Manifesto, mali tunaongea itutoke. And tonight we are continuing with the conversation. Tukiulizana kama hiyo tukiongea itutokange, kuna limits, kuna mali tunafaa kufika tuache. And before we went for this commercial break, we had Beatrice here giving us a quote from Wangari Maathai.
Yeah, Professor Wangari, thank you. Yeah, sure. Professor Wangari Maathai said, human rights are not things we sit down and dine on. They are things we fight for and then protect. It means we have a new constitution, Constitution 2010. Our Tanzanian friends are struggling to come up with that because of the kind of state repression that is in that country. After having Constitution 2010, there will always be a young generation coming to protect that constitution that has been birthed by the previous generation. So it's quite unfair to ask the Gen Z movement to be quiet. That if you talk, we will kill you. If you have a phone, we will kill you. I mean, what war are the Gen Zs waging against this, against the state, the repressive state? They're not waging any kind of war that if they sat down and listened to these people, they couldn't hear. It's all about wanting to oppress the people because they want to be in line with systems that do not really serve the people. And it's all about impoverishing the people and making them worse than they are right now. So when Mwalimu talks, I'm sure he's a teacher and he felt right what that ministry, that kind of education, access to education and how much of a pain it is right now in Kenya. So when I can't come out and call out crucial things in this country, then you should tell me which state I belong to, if not Kenya. I would like to talk about George Floyd. One of the biggest support that the people of America got from the people in Kenya. Why? Because it was George Floyd was killed at the height of police brutality in Kenya and extrajudicial executions in Kenya. If we hadn't talked, then it would have just been anything else people talk about, even on the internet. But I want you to see how Kenyans, how young people have been shaping and silencing the war, even outside of this country. We did it for Burundi, we have done it for so many other countries. We've talked and justice has been served. There are people disappearing in East Africa. We brought back Boniface and Agatha. So who is supposed to talk if the work of the police is to silence us? Rosa Parks dared to talk. Rosa Parks dared to say, no, I'm not going to stand for you to be.
All right.
We must speak, even when it's, they will say that you were silenced and you enjoyed it. Albert did not keep quiet. And one life lost is too expensive. So Thursday.
All right. And Shanice, when people now are shying away from expressing themselves, legally what are we looking at?
I think that is $1 million question, Kagina. Because in all honesty, looking at our country, we don't have a legislative problem. We don't have a constitutional problem. To echo her words, we have the best constitution in East Africa, dare I say in Africa, actually. And we have seen it in practice, we've seen it working. It protects you, the professional who is doing your job as a journalist and reporting on what is happening on the ground. It has protection for the educators, like Mwalimu Albert, who just found his death in the course of exercising his duties. It has specifications, it is giving us the direction for us to follow. Clearly, we don't have a legislative problem. We have a people problem, an implementation problem. Who is this law being implemented by? Whose hands is it in? That is the problem that we have, because we have the laws that dictate how you handle a civil issue like that should have been handled. And an arrested person has rights. There is a procedure to follow. So why are we not following it? Is it such a hard question to answer? Why are we not following our constitution?
All right, Shanice there has just thrown the $1 million question. Allow me to share it with Ms. Kahiro and Linda.
Why are we not following our constitution? Now, if you're joining us right now, our journalist, Majibu, mwenye anakuanga kwa ground, imebidi ground ikuwe hapa studio, because as he was doing his job, his very good job kwa ground, he was attacked. And we have in studio a guy who was with him, who was attacked. Kindly, sir, tell us what happened.
Hi, I'm Simba, Kelvin Simba. So we were there protesting, not protesting actually, but sitting in solidarity, because we had promised that we will camp at Jogo House in solidarity of Ojang. Albert Ojang was shot by the police. So as we were camping there, the OCS of KICC told us that I'm leaving, but what will happen to you guys is none of my business. So shortly after he left, some plane, let me call them goons because they were not officers. There were people with rungus, with nyaunyos. They came and beat us. As you can see, my leg. Nilipigwa, nimepigwa, nimeanguka. So what you can say, the government, that hii yote yenye wanatufanyia, bado tu tutarudi tu street, bado tutarudi na tutakampa hapo. Kwanza kesho ni kubaya, tutakampu huko, tutakaa huko paka kesho yake, paka watuambie nani aliwa Albert Ojang. Tutakaa hapo, alafu after hapo wachukuliwe kotini, tunataka tujue ni nani. So hata watupige, watuchape nyaunyo, watufunge. So those guys tuseme walikuwa na beef na sisi. I don't know what's wrong with the government or with the police. They must be educated. Walianza kuzima mishumaa na with their boots. And we were, let's say it was candle lighting. So sisi tulikuwa it was solidarity. It's painful. Mtu anauliwa, wanakuja wanatupiga. They took Shakira, walikuwa wanataka wampige because 10 officers with uniform walikuwa na yeye hapo. Walimuinua juu kama sisi tulikuja hapo, they could do something bad with her. So government maliko, sijui ni polisi, sijui nani anawasimamia Kanja and whatever, they should go home. Lazima waende nyumbani because saa hii ni kubaya na tutawaendea na tuogopi. Na hata saa hii tukitaka tutapigia simu na watu watajaa huko. Thank you.
Do you feel like you will still use your social media platform to also air your views at the same time keeping safe?
Hatuwezi ogopa. There's nothing to fear. Yeah, it's our country, and if we don't speak up, who will speak up? Because unaona wazee unaona mganga na mwizi na madara wameshikana. So what are we expecting? Lazima sisi vijana tutokee.
We are so sorry for what happened to you. Ms. K, you know, we are speaking about this conversation. This conversation has really come at a good time when we are having this particular topic about freedom of expression.
Yes.
And clearly this is evident.
Clearly. And he's spoken about fear. Amesema yeye haogopi bado. And I want to get back to our guest here. When we began, you said, kidogo historia Albert Ojang ilikushake kiasi. Now again, here is another, like it's literally during the show that this happened. Is that fear again being escalated? Ama bado, we are using social media to speak.
My name is Billy Sabari. The fear has always been there. Now it's what you do after the fear. You know, for us Gen Z, so for this generation, we have seen this before. We have seen people wamechukuana, wameenda maandamano. From the days of BBI, the handshake and everything else. And all those people, they only had different motives from us. We're just an educated generation. We're just people who know that we can live better lives. We're just people who are just championing for change. We are messengers. We have been sent here by people who also did this some time back. As I said earlier, the freedom or the fight for Kenya's freedom did not just begin yesterday. We have people who went out, fought for our freedom. We are now given independence. Now, our aim as Gen Zs is to decolonize our country. And not just to decolonize our country, also to push the motive and the move for decoloniality, in the sense that whatever we were taught as the general norm or the status quo for living in a country of people who are classified as a third world country, people who have no health care, no security, as you can see here. We have no industries in our country, no jobs. Everything in our country is expensive. We are collecting revenue, it's not being used well. Corruption is the leech that is sucking our blood off. And after seeing all this, yes, fear is there. But now it's what you do after the fear. The fear is gone.
Wow.
The courage is here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ms. K, even sticking with the conversation of not killing the messenger, I've just noticed that we have journalists amongst us right here. You are a journalist, and when you see this, when you see attacks on journalists, attacks on messengers, what comes to your mind, especially now that you want to immerse yourself into this space?
I'm Derek Mutende. What comes to my mind is that I need to do more. I need to push more for my people, because I didn't start journaling as a hobby. I started it because I was idle. I needed something to do to get off the street, kwa sababu ukikatua hapo ni hao polisi bado utapatana tu nao. So you start doing something. Na unapata saa hii, for example, I do my videos, I record them outside. So watu wako zile za we na wakikuja kutafute, me I'm like, tulieni tu. This is what we need to do so that we can salvage our country. Unaona? Saa hii country yetu iko at its peaks. Ukiangalia hizi brains zote ziko hapa, hizi ni pure talents. Hawa ni watu wako well educated, na hadi ukiangalia these people are articulate. They can be officers mahali wako wapi nini, but there are people holding offices kwa hii Kenya saa hii na wana hadi papers. Mtu hadi hajafika form 4, wengine hadi wamefika class 6, wengine hata tujua walifika wapi. But hao ndo wako wanaona, hao ndo wanaweza tuambia what to do. That's illogical. Unaona? So
and this is also the space that you want to earn from.
Yes, this is the space I want to earn from. Actually, good thing umenikumbusha. Last weekend I met with TikTok. I had a meeting with TikTok. Na nilikuwa na some other creators, my friends. So tukitoka hapo, we were walking, tukienda West Indo tupande mat. Then this friend of mine ananiambia ati unajua sasa ndo upatizi corporates, you have to stop talking about the government. Sami, okay, I need to stop criticizing the government. How can you escape bad governance? Not even no amount of money can escape bad governance. So hata ukiana how much kutoka kwa hizo contract zote za content, ikifika ni hii Kenya, you'll just, but no money can buy good governance. You get me? So naona hii chenye naendelea sana ni sisi tumeuziwa uoga, and we need to be fearless. We need to be fearless. This is the time. Unaona, kama uko mtaani, like, you just have to know that you have to brace yourself. Na saa hii ni street by street, tunaenda tu street. Watu wasifanye kitu yenye tulifanya last year on June, after June 25th. Hakuna like ile motive watu walikuwa nayo June 25th, tukaenda mpaka tukaingia parliament, the spirit ilidai. Na vitu ngapi zimefanyika? Tumesikia stories za Kware, tumesikia stories za wapi. There are many things zimekuwa zikifanyika hapa tu chini ya maji. We just ni vitu zina boil up. Na the government should be scared because the people are angry, and we won't relent till we get justice. And as I finish, justice for Albert Ojang, and we won't relent mpaka ipatikane. Amaje?
Linda,
Drops mic.
he's spoken about TikTok. He has a very good following there, and he does a good job. Ali breakdown
Amazing.
finance bill very, very well. Congratulations on your
Good
everything
job.
that you're doing. I want to speak about unity, because our guy here said that the fear has always been there. It's now what you do after that. And you called upon people to unite. So I want to ask, maybe you, sir, do you think we are united enough to make change in Kenya?
Sure. And let me have sorry to this guy. He's my fellow journalist. Sorry on what happened. I think we are united enough to have the change. The difference is that what defines our unity? What is it that defines our unity when we get united? It's something small, politics. We prioritize everything that we have in hand. You see, tomorrow or a day after this, you will see the opposition defending themselves or trying to look for sympathy in politics by this. You'll see the government now trying to defend themselves. It is not us with this. Now, we have shifted our mind from justice for this Albert. We have shifted our mind from the getting justice for our fellow Kenyan to politics. You see, the thing is, we are not saying when we are saying as Albert was killed, we are not saying that Albert should not be arrested. Everybody, according to the Constitution, my lawyer there will guide me, has the right to be arrested if you are accused of something. It was the right of the Albert to be arrested. Now, when we are talking about Albert, we are talking about, I think it's Article 51 of the Constitution, where you have the right when in the cell or when jailed to have the right to be not tortured, the right to be alive, the right to be given all the rights of the someone who is in the cell or the jail. This is the right that we should be talking about. Bonu jamaa alipigwa, ndio ameshikwa, amefanya makosa, because we cannot sit down and sit down. The DS, the person who accused him that has no right to say that I'm defamed. I can say today as a Kenyan, if I have the evidence, this guy should be arrested. That is okay, but was arrested. So what do we need to expect? What do we expect from that? This is about person being taken to court, face the justice, not to be killed. So the best thing that the GNC can do now is to be something that I normally call an independent arm or another arm of the government. We become an arm of the government whereby we are GNC and we oversight the government and even the opposition. We don't have to lie behind somebody. You see now, we'll have somebody on the field talking about tunasimama na vijana. You cannot stand with that. Let us stand alone. When the government is right, we say this government. It is not something that we are fighting. Let people understand this. We are not fighting this government of Kenya Kwanza. That's the first thing to come. Gen Z movement will be there. Even when I'm a grandfather to somebody, I will be in this generation. The generation will not shift. I will be already accusing the government which is there. I will be putting the government of the day on toast. So let's be independent. When we are focused, the point is when we are focused about the justice, let's avoid the politics part of it. We are not focused with the president. Let the president be, okay, it is not you who did it. It is the askari who did it. Now let's focus. Is this askari arrested? Are they facing the justice? Are they in the court? That's what we should be talking about there. But if we put our mind now of fighting somebody.
A judiciary that works for the people, an IPOA that is led by sane people and fight and implement justice for the people, a parliament that actually represents the voice of the people on the ground. Okay. And I'd like to finish with the two quotes from writers. We remember Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and may his soul rest in peace. He said to us that great fear breeds great misery on the land. Mm-hmm. There's so much misery on our land today. And for us to end this misery, we must lose our fear. And I think it was Chinua Achebe who said, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Mm-hmm. And the voice of the people of this country at this particular moment is the voice of God, and we must listen and honor and act upon the voice of God.
Thank you.
When we lose our fear, they lose their power.
Linda, just before we cross over to Kagina,
yes.
I just want to hear the last...
Act upon the voice of God.
Thank you.
When we lose our fear, they lose their power.
Linda, just before we cross over to Kagina, yes. I just want to hear...
One common mwananchi tundi yako under sheria. Like we have seen many politicians, like Moses Kuria, we have seen Oscar Sundi, wamesema maneno hata kubwa kuliko yenye Gen Z wanapost. Wanatuhusiana hadharani, they have done everything. Yenye tunaweza sema ina amount wao kuwa arrested ama kuwa charged. But justice ya Kenya imekuwa ya mwenye pesa na mwenye power. Lakini sisi wananchi tunaumia. So I will tell the youth, leo last year ilikuwa Rex na the other Gen Zs. Jana ama juzi ilikuwa Albert. Kesho hatujui ni nani. Na tukinyamaza next inaweza kuwa ni mimi, inaweza kuwa ni wewe ama mwingine. So I'm telling them Thursday ndio siku tutoke.
Thank you so much. Ms. K, you can take it over. But what has come out prominently is let's be a country that upholds the rule of law. That's all for me. My name is Linda Koske.
And Kagina?
Well, all right. Allow me to take 20 seconds closing remarks from my guest, starting from Beatrice right here.
Well, thank you so much, Kagina. That is such a tough one, but I'll do. 1 second is gone. So I'd like to say that when Steve Biko was killed, it took journalists to uncover and tell the truth years later about what had happened to him. Quite similar kind of injuries that our own Albert Ojang has. So journalists told the story, and they produced images of what they had done to Steve Biko. After Steve Biko was killed, there are so many other people that have been killed, but the most thing that is coming out today in Albert Ojang's case is the consistency and the lies in the narrative. So in that case, I would like to tell the Inspector General, Douglas Kanja, if you're not going to arrest your deputy, IG Eliud Lagat, resign.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Shanice.
Well, it's that is hard to beat. But I'd like to finish on a positive note. Kenya's digital space is very vibrant. It has a lot of cultural, political, economic possibilities, but it's going to be killed by regulation. That is the main problem. For this environment to thrive, there has to be a collaboration between all stakeholders, the government, the creatives, people who do understand cybersecurity. You cannot regulate something you don't understand.
Yes.
And there are very many collaborative ways that cybersecurity professionals, social media professionals have already found out to achieve all of these objectives that the proposed bills are trying to achieve. So just collaborate with the people and get the answers from them. This one is
all right. Allow me to cut you short because time is far much spent. I will not even have my final thoughts. I believe we have summarized everything in today's conversation. My name is David Kagina. To you, Ms. Kahiro.
Thank you so much, Kagin. Now, as we close the show tonight, here are my 2 cents. The National Police Service being caught pants down, lying to a whole nation is diabolical. Them sitting down with their brilliant minds and deciding, wacha tuseme Albert alijipiga kwa wall, and unanimously pressing send for the whole of Kenya to read and believe they had nothing to do with his death. Just goes to show how big of a problem we are dealing with here. So now, going forward, how does a police unit expect Kenyans to believe that Rex was not murdered in their hands? How are Kenyans to believe that Charles Owino, a teenager from Kajiado, was not murdered by the police and was allegedly a victim of mob justice during last year's Mandamano? How are Kenyans to believe that Denzel Omondi simply drowned in a dam? You see, for a unit that is trained to shoot, you guys really shot yourselves in the foot with this Albert lie. Safe to say, kimeanza kuwaramba, and Kenyans are woke enough to watch all this unfold. Also, for the president to be quiet about all this and instead hold a meeting for Murima artists at State House is quite tone deaf of his seat. But that's old news by now. He's quite on brand. All in all, justice has to prevail, must, mandatory. I rest my case. My name is Ms. Kahiro, and this has been the Gen Z Manifesto. See you next Tuesday, same time, same place. Good night.
TV Muthegi wa Rũrĩrĩ.
Kiumia gĩkĩ tabarĩra-inĩ ya Kayũ ka Mũrĩmi tũrarongoreria ũrĩithi wa ngũkũ cia nyama.